The sound of handcuffs clicking shut echoed inside a fancy little clubhouse. The kind with live laugh love signs and a coffee bar no one's allowed to touch. The guy in cuffs wasn't some burglar. He was the neighborhood security that the homeowners association swore kept us safe. And 2 minutes later, the HOA president who called 911 on me was standing there frozen watching her entire little empire collapse. When my wife Monica and I moved into Cedar Ridge Estates, I figured the biggest problem would be unpacking boxes and learning which trash bin was for what. It was a clean, expensive neighborhood outside Brookhaven, manicured lawns, identical mailboxes, the whole perfect suburb vibe. I work from home as a civil attorney, so quiet matters. Monica had just started a new job in town, and we agreed on something simple. Keep our heads down. Don't make ourselves the topic of conversation. Just live like normal people. That lasted maybe 48 hours. The first sign was the way people watched. Not in a friendly new neighbor way, more like they were counting how many steps you took from the curb to the front door. Then around 7 in the evening, my doorbell rang. I opened it to a guy in a black polo that said, "Community Safety," standing a little too close like my porch was already his. "Brad Harlow," he said, flashing a plastic badge that looked like it came from a party store. "Neighborhood security. Just doing a compliance check." I blinked at him. A compliance check. On my house. He didn't laugh. "Exterior cameras need to be approved by the HOA before installation. If you've got any up, you'll need to remove them until you're authorized." The thing is, I hadn't even installed them yet. The boxes were still sitting in my entryway. So I said, "Can you show me the rule?" Like the actual section in the CC&Rs. Brad's face tightened like I'd spoken a language he hated. "It's standard." "Standard isn't a citation," I said. "Show me the page." He shifted his weight and pointed over my shoulder past me like he was inspecting my living room. Then his eyes landed on the driveway. Monica's Rolls-Royce Cullinan was parked there, clean, legal, completely inside our driveway, not blocking anything. Brad squinted at it like it personally offended him. "That vehicle can't be parked like that." I looked back at the car, then at him. "Like what?" "In my driveway." He pulled out his phone and started snapping photos, slow and deliberate. "We've had problems with suspicious vehicles." Suspicious? Right, because a nice car means crime apparently. Before he left, he tossed out one more line like a threat wrapped in customer service. "Our HOA president, Tiffany Prescott, runs orientation for new homeowners. Attendance is strongly encouraged." Strongly encouraged. That phrase always means one thing: you're about to get bullied with a smile. That night, while Monica was upstairs organizing closets, I opened my laptop and downloaded every single HOA document I could get my hands on. CC&Rs, bylaws, meeting minutes, fine schedules. I made a folder and named it something I never thought I'd need in my life. Cedar Ridge Evidence. 3 days later, I learned why. It was early sunlight, barely up morning quiet, the kind of calm you move to a place like that for. I heard a sharp metal crunch outside, followed by a long scrape, and my stomach dropped before I even saw anything. I stepped out, and there it was. Tiffany Prescott's SUV angled like she'd cut the turn too hard, and the side of Monica's Rolls looked like someone took a can opener to it. Tiffany was already out of her car, arms crossed, staring at the damage like she was judging a messy neighbor's yard. I didn't yell, not yet. I just walked closer and said, "Did you just hit our car?" She didn't even pretend to be sorry. "Your vehicle is parked in an unsafe position." "It's in our driveway," I said slower this time. She waved a hand like I was being dramatic. I had to swerve. There was a dog. There was no dog, no bark, no leash, no paw prints, nothing. Just her SUV, my wife's car, and the smell of fresh arrogance. I asked for her insurance information. She smirked and said, "Maybe you should be explaining how you afford a car like that." And there it was. The real game. It wasn't about parking. It wasn't about rules. It was about her deciding who belonged in her neighborhood and who didn't. I took a breath and said, "Tiffany, we can handle this like adults. Exchange information, file claims, move on." She stared at me for a second, then pulled out her phone, and she dialed 911. I thought she was kidding. I actually waited for the punchline. But I heard her voice change into this sweet, urgent tone. "Hi. Yes, there's a suspicious Rolls-Royce at my neighbor's home. I believe it may be stolen. I'm concerned for community safety. I stood there on my own driveway, watching a grown woman try to turn a fender bender into a felony. Brad Harlow appeared like he'd been summoned by a bat signal, walked right up beside her, arms folded, looking at me like I was about to run. I wanted to explode. I wanted to ask Tiffany if she'd lost her mind, but I also knew something. If you start shouting, you become the story they want. So I did the one thing I could control. I pulled my phone out and started recording. Monica called me back while I was standing there, and I kept my voice low. She called 911. She's saying the car is stolen. Monica didn't panic. She didn't raise her voice. She just said, "Don't use me. Don't say who I am. Let it play out. And document everything." When I hung up, I looked at the crushed door panel, then at Tiffany, and I had this ugly, quiet thought. We just moved here. Do I really want to fight the entire HOA over this? Is it worth turning our new life into a never-ending neighborhood war? It wasn't some dramatic spiral. It was practical. The kind of mental math you do when you realize the people around you might enjoy ruining your day as a hobby. Then the police arrived. 2 officers stepped out, calm, professional. Tiffany launched into her performance immediately, talking fast, pointing at the rolls, throwing around words like criminal and drug money, like she was auditioning for a true crime podcast. One officer asked me for registration and proof of insurance. I handed it over. He checked the VN. He ran it. And in about 2 minutes, reality punched straight through Tiffany's fantasy. "Ma'am," the officer said, handing my documents back, "the vehicle is registered. It's not reported stolen. There's no issue here." Tiffany's mouth actually twitched, like her brain couldn't process no as an outcome. Brad leaned in, trying to salvage it. "But the community has standards." The second officer cut him off. "This is a civil matter. If there was an accident, exchange insurance and handle it." Tiffany didn't exchange anything. She just stared at me like she was memorizing my face for revenge. That afternoon, I didn't write a dramatic speech. I didn't post on social media. I didn't go door to door begging people to believe me. I did what I do for a living. I pulled the camera footage from my doorbell. I saved the file with the timestamp intact. I backed it up twice. I wrote down exactly what was said word for word while it was still fresh. Then I started digging into the HOA itself, and the deeper I went, the uglier it got. Fines that didn't match the published schedule, security, making traffic stops without authority, meeting minutes that didn't reflect what neighbors remembered voting on. That's when I met Mark Dalton, a real estate attorney a few houses down, and Frank Bennett, a former HOA treasurer who looked tired in the way people look when they've spent years swallowing nonsense. Frank told me quietly, "If you challenge Tiffany, she targets you. Tickets. Violations. Inspections. She turns your house into a project." He wasn't speculating. He had a folder too. A week later, Tiffany blasted an email to the entire neighborhood, "Emergency community meeting, safety concerns." The clubhouse was packed. Tiffany stood at the front like a principal about to expel someone, and Brad hovered nearby like her guard dog. She pointed right at me. "We have a new homeowner who has been hostile, uncooperative, and has brought suspicious activity into Cedar Ridge Estates." I stood up and didn't raise my voice. "You hit my wife's car. Then you called 911 and falsely claimed it was stolen." Gasps. Whispers. Tiffany's eyes widened for half a second, then she snapped into that icy smile. "I called because I feared for my safety," she said. "He threatened me." I held my phone up. "I have video, audio, timestamps, and the police report from the officers you wasted." Brad stepped forward, puffed up. "You can't record in this community." Mark Dalton spoke from the side, calm and sharp. "You can record on your own property, and you can absolutely retain evidence of a false report." That's when Tiffany did the dumbest thing she could have done, because she only knew how to win one way. She pulled out her phone again. Right there in front of everyone, she called 911. "I'm at the Cedar Ridge Clubhouse. I'm being threatened by a homeowner. I need officers immediately." The room went dead quiet. 80-some neighbors heard her say it. Nobody moved. Nobody yelled. Nobody threatened anyone. Then Monica stood up. She didn't make a big dramatic entrance. She didn't shout. She just walked forward steady and said, "Tiffany, stop." Tiffany blinked. "Excuse me?" Monica held up her own phone and dialed. "Dispatch, this is Chief Monica Carter. Cancel any emergency response to Cedar Ridge Clubhouse. I'm on scene. There is no threat." You could feel the oxygen leave Tiffany's face. 2 officers arrived anyway because once you hit that button, the system has to respond. They walked in, assessed the room, and looked straight at Tiffany. "Ma'am," one said, "who is threatening you?" Tiffany opened her mouth, and nothing came out, because the truth doesn't cooperate with lies. Then one officer turned to Brad. "Sir, what authority do you have as security to enforce stops or investigate vehicles?" Brad tried to puff up again. "I'm contracted by the HOA. The officer cut him off. "That doesn't give you law enforcement powers." Monica pointed out the obvious, the fake badge, the way he'd used lights to block cars, the intimidation. And the officer's face changed in that instant way professionals get when they realize something isn't just petty, it's illegal. "Brad Harlow," the officer said, stepping forward. "Turn around. Hands behind your back." The click of cuffs hit the room like thunder. Tiffany made a small strangled sound like she wanted to rewind the last 5 minutes of her life. Frank Bennett stood up before she could recover. "I move for an immediate vote of no confidence. Tiffany Prescott has abused her position, endangered this community, and filed false reports." Hands went up, a lot of hands. Tiffany looked around, desperate, waiting for her loyal crowd. But the room wasn't hers anymore. The vote passed, right there. No speeches, no mercy. And Tiffany Prescott, the woman who treated the HOA like her personal weapon, lost her power in front of everyone she'd been bullying. She stood still for a second like her body forgot how to play president. Then she grabbed her purse and stormed out, watching the officers lead her security guy away in cuffs. And that was it. No victory lap, no neighborhood party, just the sound of consequences finally catching up. Lesson: if someone needs a title to feel powerful, take the title away and watch the truth do the rest.